Hello everyone, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome you all back to my next The 5 list. I want to present to all of you here in this season 2 of the 5 lists. I've recently been bringing it back. I know it was on hiatus for a couple months, and I've been working on ideas, and there's more to come, not just the 5 list, but other videos as well. Namely, the Smash stage videos are coming. I have the first 12 ready and raring to go. Just need to find time to do it. But yes, to the 5 list. I've been recently bringing them back. Earlier this week, I did the whole horror game franchises, RPG game franchises that need to make a return. Like I said in those videos, I'm going to be talking about other video game genres in the same sort of topic in the coming videos, whether it's season 2 or a future season of the 5 list. And other stuff like that. And I just got off doing my one right before this, the 5 Dragon Ball characters that deserve better. If you haven't seen that one yet, I would recommend you please watch it, especially if you're a fan of Dragon Ball and you know exactly some of the characters I'm potentially going to talk about. But this topic, and you see the name of the video below, you see the thumbnail when I change it, I want to talk about this for a while now too. This has been on my to-do list for a while now too, and I think it's an interesting enough topic for me to do the 5 list on, especially because I came up with a good, almost just like the Dragon Ball video, about 2 lists to come up with this topic. And it's going to be the 5 one-off video games that should have a sequel, that should get a sequel. Now, there's a lot of video games that come out. There's a one-game thing, and they become a series. They get a second game, a third game, a fourth game, a fifth game. Constant games have come out, and they're a one game at some point, and then they become a series when multiple sequels start coming out. But there's also a lot of games out there that come out with one game, and they never get anything. Not a remake, not a sequel, not multiple games, not whatever, a side story, or whatever the heck else. There's a lot of games that come out with one game, and that's it. And there's the 5 I feel deserve the most to get a sequel at some point. So without further ado, without this intro going on way too long, I want to talk about the 5 one-off video games that deserve a sequel. Now, the first one I want to talk about is it's not recent, but it is last generation, or technically 2 generations ago now, if you count the Switch now. A PS3 360 generation, the 8th generation, not 8th, 7th generation of video game consoles, because the 8th is PS4, Xbox One, and Wii U, and 9th is Switch and PS5 and all that so forth. But yeah, 7th generation systems, PS3 and 360. This game came out by creator Suda51, and it was a one and done game. It only got one game. While he's done sequels to certain other games, he's never done a sequel to this yet, and it was released, I believe, in 2012. And that goes to Lollipop Chainsaw. It was such a fun concept, a fun, interesting game, just going around as a cheerleader with a chainsaw, beating up zombies and other various creatures, defeating these demonic godlike figures, and so on and so forth. It's typical Suda51, random, weird crap thrown together. Now, No More Heroes has gotten 3 games. It's going on its 4th. It's the 3rd main one, but Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes 1, 2, Travis Strikes Again 3. It's going on 4 games. Not all of his games have ever gotten sequels. Actually, I think No More Heroes is the only Suda51 franchise that's ever became a series. Everything else is like a one-off. Like Killer is Dead is not a sequel to Killer 7. They're separate games, Shadows of the Damned and whatnot. I don't know if he's ever done a sequel to like any other games. He's not really a sequel person. It seems weird. But now that we know technically from Travis Strikes Again that pretty much it is a Sudaverse, like all these games kind of take place in the same universe. So while Travis is fighting the assassin somewhere, this high school girl's kicking zombies' asses. And then there's killers, 7 people in someone's brain, and killers, dead assassins, and the Shadows of the Damned, evil demonic creatures. They all take place in the same universe, technically. So I could say this spot right here on this list could go to any Suda51 franchise that's not named No More Heroes, but I want to specifically pick Lollipop Chainsaw because the concept is interesting and unique. I remember it being fairly well received. The ending kind of leaves it open for a sequel, and it's just a fun, comedic, semi-horror-esque adventure hack and slash beat 'em up type game, stage by stage based game, and I love the characters and whatnot. It was one of the first games I got on the PS3 because I got the PS3 super late. And I love Suda51. I love his humor. I love his comedy with his action and super over the top, bull crap. And this game was really fun, and I'm surprised we're almost 8 years later and we still haven't got a second one. But I would love to see it happen, maybe on like the Switch in like or Switch and PlayStation 5 and whatnot, the new Xbox Scarlet, or what the heck it's called. Or maybe she can cameo in like No More Heroes game or something. Maybe we can have a Avengers, the Suit Avengers, like since it's like a Suitiverse. So yeah, I would love to see a lot of Pop Chainsaw come back. I know there's a lot of fans of the game that want to see it come back. Oh, Suda 51, please bring it back. My second game goes to a collaboration spin-off game on the DS, which makes sense on paper, and I do recall it being, it's selling very well, and it being fairly well received by both gamers and reviewers and critics and whatnot. And I'm honestly astonished it never came out with a second game, especially because this first one, this game came out, I think, in 2011-12 range, when the DS was like still kind of around, but the 3DS was just starting. And I would like to see the return of them. I don't know why they haven't got a second game of Pokemon Conquest. It's basically taking the world of Pokemon and throwing it, I believe, into Nobunaga's Ambition. I think that's the franchise they're mainly kind of collaborating with, because it's based off, feudal Japan, and like Nobunaga and all these Japanese warlords from around that time having Pokemon and going to war against each other. So basically take Samurai Warriors, but throw Pokemon into it and make it a turn-based like strategy kind of thing. Akin to pretty much Final Fantasy Tactics, Disgaea, Fire Emblem. It was such a fun concept, and it fit well in the universe. It fit well with both Pokemon kind of having a concept like that and not just being a typical normal Pokemon RPG. If it's like giving us something different for the Samurai Warriors, like the old feudal Japan type warlord characters. Nobunaga's Ambition gets a little more into the West, because that series never really took over here, I don't think. It was a fun concept. I'm surprised they never tried to make a sequel or make something based off like Dynasty Warriors and old like 3 warring states of China or something, or even more of a modern Japan or some other kind of concept like in some World War II or something. I don't know. It'd be really cool to see like this strategy-esque Pokemon game come back, whether it's with the Samurai Warriors, Japanese warlords, or throw in a different like scenario. I think it's kind of cool, and it was fairly well received, and it was like a liked game. And I think it sold fairly well too. So why have we never seen a sequel to this? My third game goes to a game that was exclusive and debuted on the Wii, and was like a big shocker that this type of game was on the system. And while the characters got used in a spin-off later on, the series never saw a sequel. And that goes to Mad World. Mad World was released in, I think, 2009. I think it was 2009. And it was a fun game. It was like this, like they actually did really well motion-based controls with the chainsaw and everything. And like blood everywhere, the black and white, like Sin City style, with blood being the only color you see being red. It was just a really fun, interesting concept, super mature, but like it was unique mature. It was mature to be mature, it's bloody to be bloody, but it was kind of done in a unique style, like a graphic novel, like Sin City with blood. And motion controls were fairly well received, good characters and story. And we never saw anything out of this besides them using multiple characters from it in Anarchy Reigns on the PS3 and 360. Not even a game that was on the Wii, where the characters originated from. But they were like side characters in that game. It was like an arena fighter kind of thing. Yeah, Mad World would be a cool game to see brought back. Why we have never seen Mad World 2, I don't know, but Sega and the people who created it, just make a second one on the Switch. The Switch is selling bucket loads right now. Anyways, just re-release this on there first and foremost, because more people should play Mad World. It was a fun game, and then make a sequel on the Switch. You would do pretty well, especially because the Switch has brought back a lot of franchises, and the Switch is almost a fairly mainstream versus niche system, so niche games are doing well anyways. So, yes, Mad World would be pretty cool to see brought back. My fourth game is going to go to another collaboration game just like Pokemon Conquest. These two franchises are still going strong today, but they've only ever collaborated once, and I am astonished how well it was received and how fun it was, how unique the two styles go together, even the characters and the worlds and the environments go together, that they never saw a sequel to this. And that is Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright. I love the Ace Attorney games, and I'm getting into the Phoenix. I love the Ace Attorney games, and I'm getting into the Professor Layton games. I love both, and they're both still going strong, like on the 3DS and I'm assuming the Switch is going to get something. I know the Switch is supposed to be getting some sort of Ace Attorney game at some point, and it's bound to get Professor Layton eventually, anyways, because it's very much a Nintendo franchise for the most part. And they had this collaboration game on the 3DS back around 2013-14. I forgot exactly what year it was in. But it was such a fun concept. They're mixing the trials and doing like looking for evidence and whatnot, but with the Professor Layton puzzle solving, and it was so cool. Like I loved them separate, but seeing the universes go together and the story, I was so addicted to this game. I played it nonstop for like a month or so, pretty much. I just to beat it. Like I was never that. I'm addicted. I love those Ace Attorney games. And I love the Professor Layton games. I still need to get more into them, but yeah, like the story was so good. I loved the story so much, and they could do a different concept in a different world and do the story even differently. It'd be kind of cool, and I think like the mixing of like the trials with the puzzles and everything was such a cool concept. It was fairly well received. I think the game sold fairly well. Can we please get a sequel, Capcom / Level 5 or whatever? Whoever makes the game, can we get one on the Switch? Make it a Switch. You can even put this game on the Switch. But I would like to see a new one because I would love to play a new story with these two worlds just collaborating with each other. And I think a lot of you actually would too, because these two series are very beloved, and I have heard people say they want a second game or even make it a series. And the fifth one on my list will go to the oldest game on this list. Like all these games I basically mentioned have been within the last decade, pretty much since 2010, and we're about to leave it with 2020 next year. But like a lot of the four I mentioned all came out within the last 5 to like 8, 9 years, like within that time frame since the beginning of the decade. But this game came out in the 2000s. It's an older game from Square Enix that I first and foremost, I want it the most because I love the game, and it was one of the first games I got on PS2, and I loved it so much, loving RPGs like Final Fantasy and whatnot, and Kingdom Hearts came out after this, and I love beat-em-ups like Final Fight and Streets of Rage, and you should know what I'm talking about by now. But I would love to see another game in this series. First and foremost, they probably should just remake it first, and then make a sequel, because the world it felt like they can easily do more to the story, and that goes to the Bouncer. Square, can we please get another Bouncer game? You could remake it, Sion, Bolt, and Kovu. Maybe have them cameo in Kingdom Hearts at some point to advertise it. There's fans of this series. I love it's one game, I should say. It was pretty much the creation. Sion was almost like the early predecessor to what Sora became. And have these characters interacting. Kingdom Hearts first and foremost would be cool, but just revamp it, make a remake of it, this RPG beat 'em up on like the Switch and PlayStation 5 and whatnot, Xbox Scarlet, all the 9th generation systems, the Switch, PlayStation 5, and Xbox, whatever, and then make a sequel. It was so fun and unique. Even nowadays, you hardly ever see like RPG beat 'em ups. I think there's only been a few indie games that probably tackle that sort of scenario, but I love the Bouncer so much. It was unique and different. It's something from Square Enix and Squaresoft that's not Kingdom Hearts, Dragon Quest, or Final Fantasy, or Chrono for that matter, or the Mana series. It's something different, and we want to see other franchises from Square Enix come back. Can this be made into a series? Square, yes. And that's it for the 5 list. For the 5 games that are one-offs that deserve a sequel and deserve to be turned into a series. Those being Lollipop Chainsaw. If No More Heroes can become a series, Lollipop Chainsaw should become one too. Among Killer is Dead, Killer 7, and Shadows of the Damned. Pokemon Conquest. Can we please get another one of those? That was so fun. So fun. Mad World. It was so fun too. Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. I love that game to death. Probably one of my favorite 3DS games of all time. And the Bouncer. My name is Sniffers1. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. If you love it, and put in the comment section what you guys think. Do you guys think these 5 games, one-offs, should get a sequel? Should get like some sort of additional game, even if it's a remake? What other one-off games in gaming history in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, even going back to the 70s if you really want, with the Atari and everything, and to the early 80s and whatnot. Arcade gaming, console gaming, whatever the heck you want to go with gaming. Put in the comment section what you guys think. What do you want to see? That's a game that only came out with one game, a one-off game you want to see a sequel to. In the comment section down below. Thanks for peace. Please subscribe if you want to, and have a lovely day. And I'll see you later in the next video.